Rob, what is our fifth main topic today?
Here we go. Basil Hindash says, "Hi, John and crew. Big fan of the show, all the way from Nottingham, England. The button has been pushed. What do you think about the news in regards to Wonder Woman 3, Superman 2, and the rest of the DCU slate being paused or even rebooted at some point? Do you think this is the best way for the DCU to start from scratch? Thanks, and bring on the filthy."
All right, here we go. Yesterday, news dropped, and it wasn't out of a Gus's gas station movie reviews.fart site.
Nope.
It was the Hollywood Reporter, I believe.
An exclusive to the Hollywood Reporter.
An exclusive to the Hollywood Reporter that Wonder Woman 3, that Patty Jenkins has been notified that Wonder Woman 3 is scrapped. That it does not fit in with the plans that James Gunn and Peter Safran, the new CEOs and chairman of the brand new DC studios, and this just coming right off of Patty Jenkins submitting a treatment for the new movie, and Gal Gadot getting on social media just the other day saying she can't wait to play the character again, and this is all coming. And according to reports, that thing is done. They're scrapping it. It ain't part of their plan. Now, we're going to get more into that, but the story doesn't end there, because what flows from that is the fact that it doesn't just look like Wonder Woman is gone. It looks like, from the story, and then we're going to get to some comments James Gunn has made this morning about this in just a moment, but let's stick with the story for right now. It looks like that they might be approaching a wholesale reboot of the DC cinematic universe. There are things being thrown around that Jason Momoa is now done as Aquaman, that he's done. There's not going to be any more Jason Momoa Aquaman after the upcoming sequel to Aquaman. And that, pursuant to the stuff we talked about a few weeks ago, that he might be playing Lobo. They may want to recast him as Lobo instead in this universe instead of Aquaman. Also that Superman, now done. That any plans there were, and by the way, this story confirms that last month, Henry Cavill shot a cameo for the upcoming Flash movie. He did it. This is in the Hollywood Reporter. He shot a cameo. And apparently, that's now going to be taken out. And any plans there were for Henry Cavill's return as Superman, now gone. They're talking about this is going to be a wholesale reboot of this thing. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at the Hollywood Reporter who wrote the following. Part of the plan could entail a truly fresh start, having no baggage from any previous regimes as they set about resetting how DC movies and shows are made. That, however, does not take into account the possible success of movies such as Shazam! Fury of the Gods on March 17th, on which Safran is a producer, and Blue Beetle coming out on August 18th, 2023. Would that plan include forging ahead without the actors who inhabit those characters and recast them, even if those movies prove to be box office hits? Observers are convinced the plan calls for an interconnected story universe, and there is rumbling about the establishment of a creative brain trust. The brain trust may already be rolling in some capacity, as sources say that Peter Safran had in recent weeks been meeting with writers at his Los Angeles home in an effort to hone the presentation, gathering feedback and ideas for the plan. Now, this all comes as another part of the story is suggesting that next week is when James Gunn and Peter Safran are meeting with Warner Brothers head David Zaslav to present him with their roadmap, to present him, this is our 10-year plan, 8 to 10-year plan, whatever. And it includes scrapping everything, at least according to the report. Now, before we get further into what that could all mean, James Gunn took to social media this morning to address these reports going around. And you can bring up my screen here if you want, Jonathan. But James Gunn says, so, as for the story yesterday in the Hollywood Reporter, some of it is true, some of it is half true, some of it is not true, and some of it we haven't decided whether or not it's true. Now, he goes on to say that, look, we're looking for ways to take what hasn't worked and all this kind of stuff. He has a long series of tweets that you can go on to James Gunn's Twitter and see what he had to say. But really, this first thing he tweeted kind of sums it up, right? Okay, so what's the parts that's true? I think what's clear, what the Hollywood Reporter was most certain about, Wonder Woman 3 is done. That's not happening. The part that is kind of half true, I think, is the part about rebooting the universe. The part that is not true is necessarily might mean a 100% wholesale reboot. There may be some things that carry over. Because, for example, there's no way in hell, James Gunn hasn't written to me to tell me this personally. This is me speculating. There is no way that they're not doing Peacemaker season 2, right? There's no way. So that would be one of those instances where maybe they do a reboot, but it's not a wholesale reboot. Because all you have to do is, there's very, very few things you would need to retcon in a season 2 of Peacemaker. Very, very few details you'd have to retcon to make it fit in with whatever this thing's going to be. So that's fine. Blue Beetle, for all we know, Blue Beetle is going to feel very solo on its own. Like, we may watch Blue Beetle and really there may not be a lot of references to the bigger DCU anyway. So maybe Blue Beetle's something that could continue. Blue Beetle, by the way, which we've heard Warner Brothers is very big on. They liked it so much, they promoted it from being an HBO Max release all the way up. And we can take down that tweet now, from a HBO Max release all the way up to being a full theatrical release. So it could be that movie doesn't even have anything majorly tied into it anyway. So that could be fine too. So for me, and what I've had a lot of people asking me is this, John, if, and it's still a big if this works out the way it's looking like, that there's no more Henry Cavill Superman, are you okay? Are you all right, John? Are you going to be all right? Are you feeling faint? Do you see shining lights in front of your eyes? Are you going to be okay if there's no Henry Cavill Superman? Let me address this. Everybody knows I am the world's #1 fan of Henry Cavill Superman. He is my favorite Superman of all time. I think Man of Steel, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, is the most underrated comic book film of all time. I'm a huge fan of it. I literally did laps when I found out, when Henry Cavill got on social media the other day and says, I'm back as Superman, all that kind of stuff. Super happy, excited, thrilled, blah, blah, blah. But that was before James Gunn took over. And I'm going to say this, and this may surprise you, but I have always said stories are not there to serve the characters. Characters are there to serve the stories. And characters are not there to serve the actors. The actors are there to serve the characters. I have said for years, for those of you guys who have watched me for any period of time, you know this. I have said for years that really the ideal, I believe, approach, there are other ways to do it, but I've always said that I believe the ideal play for DC is to reboot it. Maybe that'll cause some short-term hurt, but I believe the long-term success of DC but would benefit greatly, would have a much better outlook if you just started from scratch. Got rid of all the baggage that comes along with it and just starts from scratch. And because I'm a person that believes the story comes first and your universe comes first, it hurts. It makes my balls itch.
Manscaped.
But it would mean that I would have to say yes. That would even mean that my beloved bro from another Mo, Henry Cavill, would have to be gone as Superman. You would have to start again.
You're my boy, Blue.
You're my boy. You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. And if that is the plan, then you don't do it half-assed. If the plan is to reboot, then reboot. Don't do it half-assed. Don't go, well, we'll reboot, but we'll keep this and we'll keep this and we'll keep this and we'll keep this. Figure it. Now, again, James Gunn is saying part of that report is true. Part of it's half true. Part of it's not true. So where the full truth of this whole story lies is still yet to be seen. But I will say this, Rob, that if this is the plan to reboot, to go all out, restart DC, I got to say I'm behind it. There are other things they could do, but I would be behind it, even if it means that I can't get Henry Cavill. But I believe a couple things would be untouched. I still think we're going to get Peacemaker because that wasn't really connected to the DCU anyway, other than a few minor references. I believe it doesn't at all impede or hurt I almost said Matt Smith's, Matt Reeves's and Robert Pattinson's Batman, because it's outside of the DCU anyway.
Joker's safe too.
Joker's also
Folly
completely
Do is
safe because it falls well outside of the DCU anyway. So it's really a shame. Wonder Woman was the first true big hit for the DCU. When that Wonder Woman movie came out, what did it get into, like the $800 million range? If you can look that up for me,
Yeah.
Taylor. But it was the first legitimate hit for the DCU that was beloved by the critics, by the audiences, and by the box office.
822.8 million.
822 million. It was their first big one. It's the one that made it look like, oh my God, the DCU may actually be legit. And I don't know what this means for Gal Gadot, but regardless, if it's to reboot, then reboot, even if it means I can't have Henry Cavill anymore. Anyway, Rob, let me throw it over to you. James Gunn and Peter Safran have been tasked with a major job. Take DC, which has, whether you're a huge DC fan or not, I think we can all agree, has not lived up to its potential.
Sure.
I think is it fair to say that, everybody, that it's fair to say, big fan or not, that it has not lived up to its potential, and say, we need a DC that can not only compete with Marvel's success at the box office and success in the movies, but can actually maybe threaten it. If James Gunn and Peter Safran say, well, the way to do that is not by slapping Band-Aids on the bullet wounds, it's to start fresh. I don't know. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Manscaped. This holiday season, I'll be giving thanks to our friends over at Manscaped. Everyone loves turkey and stuffing, but you'll be looking like dessert with the help of Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have blessed you with the ultimate Thanksgiving dinner topic. Tell your in-laws about your new cutting-edge ball trimmer and gift yourself or the man in your life the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Trim up your pumpkins by going to manscaped.com and use the code CAMPEA for free shipping and 20% off. And this year I am so thankful for Manscaped because, like most of you guys, I used to use Neanderthalic Dark Age methods to trim my balls. Not anymore, thanks to Manscaped. It's time for all of us to give thanks to Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for your package. Inside, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold all your goodies. The heart of the package, their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the promo code CAMPEA. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. What's your big takeaway from this story that we've got, and what way do you think they're going to go?
I think they're going to reboot. I think they're perfectly poised. I mean, in a way, Aquaman will be the final film of this era of DC. Because you have Aquaman's coming out next Christmas. So we'll get Fury the Gods will come. And so you'll have 2 Shazam movies and a Black Adam movie. That'll be the sub-Shazam universe thing. You got Flash coming out. The Ezra Miller situation has made it so that's a one and done. And then, look, I'm sorry. I love Gal Gadot, and I'm a fan of Patty Jenkins. Wonder Woman 84 was Highlander 2. That film was god-awful.
I don't think it was as bad as Highlander 2, but it was a big step down.
It was
from the first
awful.
one. Yeah.
And magic and everything about it. It was such a step down that I'm sorry for everybody involved, but they did that to themselves. There's no way. There's no way you give that series a third film. You don't do it. So,
but they were 1-1 at that point. Like, they had one really great film, one really bad one. I mean, I think an argument could be made that you give them a third go if you're not rebooting the whole franchise.
No, that's the thing. Everything must go. And
yeah.
You know what? That was Shazam had 2 movies, Wonder Woman had 2 movies, Aquaman had 2 movies. At the end of the day, now is the time. All the stuff that's been put into position from previous administrations and even begun in previous administrations before the administrations, like Kevin Tsujihara's reign and Zack Snyder, all of that goes away. It definitively allows James Gunn and Peter Safran to do what they were hired to do, which is start from scratch, start anew, give us a brand new day. I mean, and you know,
New day. Sorry, I had to do it.
But that's what they should do. And I think that's what business is. And, you know, they've still got these movies. You know, everything is there. They've still got movies coming out. But whatever the plan that they are on, that they're going to whatever they're going to implement after the first of the year, allows them. I mean, even Blue Beetle. Hey, you get a Blue Beetle movie could be great, but I don't see Blue Beetle unless it's $1 billion movie. It wasn't supposed to go out theatrically, but it was good enough to be a theatrical film. That introduces the idea of a character. They can keep the character if they want, but really, they're in a really great position where this era is done, and they can end it with dignity and honor. Everybody gets to walk away having done their best work. Even Peter Safran, who's a producer of the Aquaman movies, is like, yeah, we did Aquaman and Aquaman The Lost Kingdom.
And Shazam.
I mean, everybody, James Wan's moving on. Everybody wants to, I think, end this. So there's nothing lingering. And it's brand new. Here's here's something new. And we get James Gunn. I mean, hell, what I'd love to see him do is lead with Justice League International, do the comedic. The comedic version of the Justice League from the 80s was awesome. And I'm not saying James Gunn's going to do that, but if they started with that, because you were always talking about how they could start with the Justice League movie, now they can do whatever the hell they want. The audience knows who these people are. You recast the pantheon of JLA members and you put them in the movie. Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, they're all recast. And we see them all at once. That's the way to start your shining new era. Don't do a single character movie. Give us a brand new Justice League.
I am so in tune with you on that. I've said that for years.
Meanwhile, whole family.
This whole thing that you don't have to do, you have to do the Marvel formula. Where solo. Then, no, you don't. Guardians of the Galaxy proved you don't need to do that. Star Wars, I've said this for years. Star Wars, you didn't have to have a solo Luke Skywalker movie, a solo Han Solo movie, a solo Obi-Wan movie, and then, no, you were able to do Star Wars. Look, here's the other thing, too. I think this is a piece of the puzzle. I don't think this is everything, but I think it was significant. I think when you're Warner Brothers in DC and you're sitting down looking at the current state of things, you see that Marvel can put out, for them, subpar movies. Because I like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I liked Thor, Love and Thunder, but I think everybody would agree that they're subpar for Marvel standards. They're sitting back and looking that these movies can put out subpar movies and make $700, $800, and $900 million. We just put out a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie, and it didn't even make 400. We put out a great movie. I think Shazam was great, and it couldn't make $400 million. Blue Beetle is not going to blow up the box office no matter how good it is. And you know what? I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people who will disagree with this, but this is the truth. There is baggage attached to the DC name right now that they can't shake.
No.
I think a part of the reason Shazam didn't do better, not that it was ever going to be $1 billion film, don't get me wrong, but I think part of the reason Shazam only did as well as it did, I think part of the reason that Black Adam only did as because it did, is because a lot of the audience has simply lost faith in this brand. When you look at all the drama and all the ups and downs, and listen, I say this as a fan, I've only ever given negative reviews to 2 DC movies. That was Harley Quinn, The Fabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. And I can't remember what the second one was that I didn't like so much. But anyway, I'm a guy who's given positive reviews to every single other of the DC movies. But there is no getting around that the average moviegoer today, the perception, whether it's fair or not, you have to agree that the perception is that Marvel is here and DC is here. And just trying to slap Band-Aids on it and by the way, look at the confusion surrounding Batman right now. Right? Well, wait a minute. Is Michael Keaton the new Batman? Is Ben Affleck coming back as Batman? Are they recasting a new Batman? Like just all this kind of stuff. It does feel like maybe the best alternative here is to say, look, they've tried triage for a couple of years now. This ain't working. Even our big win, Wonder Woman, followed up falling on its face. And we haven't been able to have a really big win since that. And it's time to just, like you said, reset the clock. And I love your idea because I agree with it. I've said this a long time. You start your new universe, and I don't know what this will do. Boom, Justice League. You start with it. I love that idea.
And can you imagine if Justice League, now I'm not saying, it's hard because people don't understand. Let me be clear. I'm talking about tone here. The tone. James Gunn has a certain buoyant, fun, let's have a great time at the movies tone. That's the kind of Justice League we need. Not this not some bordering on Schindler's List, darkness or whatever. You need a Guardians of the Galaxy. You need color. You need excitement. You need fun. That's why, and I think that James Gunn, because he knows the DC universe so well, it would not surprise me that, and I'm not saying they're going to go that funny, because it was kind of a goof too, but it was a great series. And what was really interesting was, I remember in the mid 80s when that came out, J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen and Kevin Maguire doing the art. It was so much, that comic series was so much fun. It totally reinvigorated the Justice League and became an enormous hit. So, and it was a complete, because they were the DC comic universe at that time. The Justice League was kind of in that same place it is now cinematically. And when they put this out, it was a breath of fresh air. It was so entertaining reading those Justice League comics at that time. I couldn't wait to get the next issue. And they're going to do, that's what James Gunn knows this. And that's what he's going to do. And I swear to God, look, I used to think James Gunn would direct a Superman movie or whatever. Now I'm convinced it's all ending and they will do a big move. Because you know what? That's what David Zaslav expects. They're not going to be, our first DC EU movie is going to be Lobo. They're not going to do that. They're going to come out and give us a brand new Justice League movie with color and fun and excitement and awesome villains. And they're going to recast the whole thing. And when we figure out, when they give us the announcement, probably at Comic-Con next year, they're going to bring all of the new cast out. It's going to be totally super secret. No one's going to know who it is. They're going to make a huge deal about it, because another thing James Gunn is a veteran of Comic-Con. He's a veteran.
Yep.
He knows exactly what to do. And that's when they're going to make I would imagine, John, we're not going to know what they're going to do. Not right away. Not right away, because they're going to put the pieces in place first. They've got to figure out who's going to write these movies.
Right. Well, I think we will find out a little bit, because David Zaslav wants to start changing the public perception. So he'll start probably spilling a few things. But I agree. And again, we are speculating. Start off with the Justice League. They very well could do the old formula of launch with a couple of standalone movies. And maybe that'll be great and that could work. Or maybe they don't do it at all. But yeah, I mean, again, it's very clear. Now, I see some people in the live chat are saying, just keep the cast. You can't keep the cast.
No.
Because if you keep the cast, all you're doing is creating a lot of confusion. And if you want to change perception of the DC universe, you're not going to change the perception that the public has of it if you just have the same cast.
No, and the thing about it is that cast was forged with a certain tone. And this has to be a new tone. The very DNA of how these characters, the DC characters, are presented on film is going to be different. There's going to be no vestiges of anything that they currently have. And you know what? It might be hard to deal with or whatever, but it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Look, if James Gunn has proven, both in the worlds of Marvel and over in DC, he makes great stuff. That's all he does. He makes great stuff. And whatever they end up doing, whether it is a full-blown reboot, whether it's we're going to reboot and we're going to retcon a few things so we can keep some things, whatever approach they're going to take, I think is going to be great. But this is huge news, guys. I mean, the dropping of Wonder Woman, all that kind of stuff. Question is for you, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of people asking about this as we get into the super chats, but question is for you guys. What do you make of all this? Do you like the idea that they're cutting out Wonder Woman 3? It looks like any Superman plans might be gone. Maybe James Gunn's tweets right now may think it softens a little bit. Maybe it reinforces it. What do you think they're going to do here? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.